Hello, I'm Shivanjani, a cloud support engineer here at the AWS office in Hyderabad. Today, I'm going to show you how to use the AWS command line interface to make AssumeRole calls and store temporary user credentials. So let's get started. There are three commands that you can run in the AWS CLI to get temporary credentials: AssumeRole with SAML, AssumeRole, and AssumeRole with Web Identity. First, let's start with AssumeRole with SAML. Before you begin, make sure that you have an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance with the AWS CLI installed or the AWS CLI installed on your local system. You must also have a SAML identity provider and a Federation Role ARN, IDP ARN, and a SAML response from your IDP. For instructions on how to set up a SAML IDP and a browser-specific instructions on how to get the SAML response, see the links in the video description. For this demonstration, I am using the AWS 2.0 IDP and the Google Chrome browser to get the SAML response. I have also installed the AWS CLI on an EC2 instance to run the command. To get the SAML response, you must retrieve the HTTP logs when you are federating into AWS from your IDP login endpoint. For example, because I am using ADFS as an IDP, the login endpoint is. To get the SAML response, navigate to the IDP login endpoint and start the developer console. Choose the Network tab and then select the Preserve log. Enter your user credentials and then choose Sign In to sign in to AWS. Choose the Payload tab to find the SAML response request and copy it. Now, let's go to the terminal. To get the set of temporary security credentials, run the AssumeRole with SAML AWS CLI command and include the SAML response at the end of the command. The command returns an access key ID, a secret access key, and a security token for users who are authenticated through a SAML authenticated response. Applications can use these temporary credentials to sign calls to AWS services. Next, save the credentials in your profile that's in the credentials file located in the .aws folder of your home directory. You can then use the credentials to make future API calls in the AWS CLI. To perform this operation in one step, you can connect the command's output to an inline script that uses the AWK test processing utility to save the temporary credentials to your profile that's in the credentials file. Run this command to get this output. Also, make sure that you have a matching profile with the output format and set the AWS region in the config file that's located in the .aws folder of the home directory so that you are not repeatedly prompted to enter it. Here's an example of a correctly configured config file. To use any AWS CLI command that the Federation role has permission to run, include the ---- profile parameter in the command. Now, let's run the AssumeRole to get temporary credentials. For this command, your AWS IAM user credentials must already trust the role that you want to assume. First, run the getCaller identity command to verify that you have a valid access. Then, run the AssumeRole command. Export the access key, secret access key, and session token as environment variables. Now, run the getCaller identity command again to verify the new identity. For the AssumeRole with Web Identity command, you must have a valid OAuth 2.0 access token or OpenID Connect token and an IAM role that trusts the IDP. For this demonstration, I have an OAuth 2.0 access token that I'll be using. Run the AssumeRole with Web Identity command. Save the access key, secret access key, and session token to the credentials file under your profile name. You can then use the profile to make CLI calls. Thanks for watching and happy cloud computing from all of us here at AWS.